Good evening, Lewiston. This is your host, Mark Bradley, on the Mark Bradley Show. You're tuned in this evening, or maybe in the morning, depending on when you watch me, when you check it out on the internet. You can find updates every day on Twitter at twitter.com/mountainmanmark. Now, forgive me for spelling mountain wrong. I reversed the I and A in mountain, and I will be correcting that soon. Thank you. Today in the news, at least in what I was looking at, was comments by Mr. Moran, Senator from Virginia, relating to House Resolution 1684, legalizing the carrying of concealed weapons in national parks. Mr. Moran stated, and I quote, "Just before we went into the last recess, we passed much needed overdue legislation relating to credit card abuse. That was a good and responsible thing to do. But in the process of doing that, this Congress did something that was grossly irresponsible. We passed legislation enabling anyone who wants to bring a loaded, concealed firearm onto national parks, so that hundreds of thousands of American families who would like to enjoy our parks safe in the knowledge that their families are secure from the threat of wanton violence can no longer have that sense of security. Any number of performing artists are now informing Wolf Trap they do not want to go to Wolf Trap because their lives are endangered by this legislation. It's time to fix this legislation and provide for the security of the American people and not the profit of the National Rifle Association." End quote. Oh my goodness. Take it easy there, Mr. Moran. Wanton violence? No sense of security? Performers don't want to go to the Wolf Trap National Park and Performing Arts Center? Profit of the National Rifle Association? Now, if someone can explain to me where the National Rifle Association profits from allowing regular Americans like me and you to carry concealed loaded firearms on national parks, I'd like to know. This just seems like common sense to me. If I can carry it legally in my state, why can't I carry it legally in my state or national park? I think this is the overdue legislation. The fact that firearms were illegal to carry in national parks, I think, is kind of ridiculous. It's no different than any other place. But if you ask me, I'll tell you, I don't believe in such a thing as a gun-free zone. I think that's also a ridiculous concept. Listen, if someone wanted to commit wanton violence in a national park, they have but to take a gun there and do it. Just because they carry it there illegally doesn't mean they can't. All this legislation does is allow those of us who abide by the law, carry our firearms legally, have our concealed weapons permits from our states, it allows us to do it legally without crossing those state and federal laws that prohibit us from exercising our Second Amendment rights. I believe extremely strongly in the Second Amendment as an individual right. And I believe that when it says that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, it means both. You can keep them in your home, and you can bear them. What is to bear? Well, obviously, it's to carry. And most states have recognized the right. You can carry it. You may not carry it concealed, however, but you may carry a firearm anytime and anywhere you like, except for state buildings and schools, national parks, state parks. Well, some of that's changed. Now, about the wanton violence, I mean, this is a bit absurd and insane, isn't it? Are there massive amounts of violence in our parks now going on? No. Why is legalizing guns going to change that? I think that the primary reason for prohibiting it in the past was so that people wouldn't shoot the animals. And obviously, in a national park, we shouldn't have hunting. We don't need hunting in national parks. We have lots of national forests and lots of land to do that, especially here in the great state of Idaho, where I live, and enjoy the outdoors very much. So, listen, Mr. Moran, I'm sorry that your performers at Wolf Trap are upset. That's just too bad. I mean, I don't see where their lives are endangered. And if you can explain why their lives are endangered by me carrying a legal loaded concealed firearm in a national park? I'd love to know. Perhaps I could protect you from a bear. Who knows? Anyway, on to the more exciting and more interesting news, at least from my point of view, fishing. The Clearwater River dropped to 31,600 cubic feet per second as of 7:15 p.m. on Monday, which is extremely good news for salmon anglers. 65,283 Chinook salmon over Lower Granite Dam so far, which is it's not the 120-something they were predicting, but it's some fish. And with the river coming back into much more fishable conditions, it should be good. Unfortunately for anglers, especially down in the lower portions of the Clearwater, the large number of Chinook jacks, one-year-old Chinook males that came back this year, was really high. 26,000 plus of the 65,000 that came so far were jacks, which is a huge number. And that's why they closed the lower portion of the Clearwater to harvesting adult salmon. So keep that in mind when you're out there. Make sure you don't keep any over 24 inches in Idaho. There's been 6,000 Chinook come over Lower Granite in the last 7 days, so they're still here. They're still coming. And with the river being much more fishable, that's good news. I headed down to Boise over the weekend. We saw the salmon river and the little salmon, and they were absolutely raging. It was beautiful to see, but difficult to fish. Anyways, get out there, enjoy God's great creation. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Mark Bradley's show is not exactly sponsored, but I endorse Cafe San Juan coffee made by Nicomade. Great stuff. $5.50 a pound. Organic, fair trade coffee from Nicaragua. Not over-roasted like so many of the beans you buy here in America from these American companies. Delicious. You can make it to whatever strength you like. It tastes beautiful all the way from mild to an extra dark coffee. Enjoy it. If you want to know any more about it, you can look them up at nicomade.org. Their website has recently changed, though, to nicomade.com, and it is back up and running. You can find out about all the products that they offer. Have a good night. God bless.